Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah, what condition my condition was in.
Alon! You ever been a fan of the artist Akon?
Yeah, Akon. And I'm a fan of the big city he was building out there in Africa, if you ever heard about that.
He was building a city in Africa?
Yes, it was going to be like, I don't know how else to put it. It was going to be like Wakanda. Very futuristic.
Okay, was not aware of that. I remember a long time ago, I want to say in high school, when Barack Obama was running for president, he said that if Obama didn't win, that he would leave the country. And for all of our sakes, Obama won, and Akon was still making music.
Yeah.
No, so good to know about that. The reason I ask is because I met Akon today. He was in our studios. He's doing a show tonight at the Shoreline here in the Bay Area. Said what's up to him, and I like his fashion sense. Man was walking around wearing, I want to say, sweats that was tied around his waist with a rope. He looked like very monkish.
Okay, that's cool. Was he nice? He was nice to you?
Yeah, he was a nice guy.
Yeah. Did he come on to KMBR today?
No, we didn't have enough time. I don't think he wanted to anyway. I don't think he's really a sports guy, but he he was nice, said what's up. I think one of my fellow coworkers asked him, "You got any thoughts about the Giants?" And he was like, "I want to know where to start, man. I have no idea what that is."
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So good move. That would have been kind of fun, but I don't know. He probably has the same view on it as Giants fans do right now. They have no idea what's going on.
Well, they're all excited about Tugboat Wilkinson, Matt Tugboat Wilkinson, who's pitching or was pitching about an hour ago. And I don't know. At this point, at any point, I'll be honest, I really don't care.
So I want to read you this real quick because
sure.
Now that we're talking about Akon here. So Akon City was a planned $6 billion futuristic smart city.
Akon City, huh?
Yeah, named it after himself. I love it.
That's
on
nice.
The coast of Senegal. And it was promoted by Akon as a real-life Wakanda. However, after years of delays, missed funding deadlines, and an empty site featuring only an unfinished welcome center, Senegalese authorities effectively ended the project and reclaimed the land from Akon.
Interesting.
Yeah. So anyway, maybe there will be a Madonna. Derek, if there was a artist who was going to make a city, a music artist, which one would you be most excited for?
It's a hell of a question. If someone was going to make a city, I don't know. I guess Gene Simmons. And the only reason I bring that up is because the other night he was throwing out the first pitch at the Angels game, and I never seen this before. He got 4 tries at the first pitch. So it was a first pitch, a second pitch, a third pitch, a fourth pitch. He didn't like – so him and Paul Stanley went out, the star child. I want to say that's Paul Stanley. They went out to throw out the first pitch at the Angels game, and Gene Simmons didn't like his first throw, so he got 3 more tries at it.
That's pretty cool. You know who needed that? 50 Cent.
50 Cent needed that. Dr. Fauci needed that. So, yeah. And I've always said, I don't mind admitting this, I'm never going to do a first pitch because, and I don't think the Giants would have me do it, but you only get 1 try on that, and that's got to be perfect. You set yourself up to ridicule for everybody.
You're practicing for at least 2 weeks if you get the call that you're going to do it, right?
And you know what? It's just not worth it because no matter what it looks like, people are going to give you shit for it.
Yeah, so because you're never gonna like George W. Bush who threw one down the pipe post 9/11.
Yes,
and that was a unique time in our history where everybody kind of cheered, right? But like now, you could throw gas out there and you're probably gonna get booed.
Yeah, and I don't think a president's thrown a first pitch. It's Kevin Spacey in House of Cards. That looked terrible.
Kevin I didn't see that scene. I only watched the first. Yeah, I started watching that as the Kevin Spacey news started coming out, and that kind of turned me off of watching.
Oh, that piqued your interest? You're like, I got to see what's up with the Spacey guy.
It was the other way around. I was like, oh, I'll get into this show, and then that news starts coming out. I go, I could probably switch to a different show.
You know what? I've always been a Spacey fan. I still will say to this day, he's one of the best actors of all time. But there's some movies, some quotes from movies too, where you're like, like American Beauty, the whole plot of that movie, a little interesting. And then I want to say, you ever see the movie Baby Driver, Alon?
I did see Baby Driver, yeah.
I think there's one line in that movie where he says, once I saw the balls on that kid, I was impressed. And I was like, yeah, that's probably not for the best. Just say, Derek Papa coming to you on a Wednesday afternoon at 5 o'clock, doing an early show because I'm off work. The Giants are playing right now, so we could talk a little bit about football. We got some people in the chat already. We got AJ Cruz. We got Rocka New Era. AJ Cruz giving me shit for the definition of a horror movie already. Let's see what he said here. Horror movies aim to elicit fear, terror, and disgust through the supernatural monsters or gore. Thriller focus on suspense, anxiety, and the rise of tension with rising stakes, plotting, and mind games. So you're actually giving like a Webster's definition of horror there. Because I said last podcast, I didn't know if the movie Obsession would categorize as horror. I don't know. I'm just not a horror head. It's not based on my definition. I just know that a lot of people out there would be like the Jordan Peele movies. Would you say those are horror movies?
Ooh, I would say they're closer to suspense.
Exactly. And I would say like there's jump scare moments, I guess, in Obsession, but nothing that's like, I don't know, like there's different categories. Like there's slasher with Scream. There's obviously like, I don't know, semi-torture porn with some of the Saw movies. I don't know what you would call it Obsession. You haven't seen the movie yet, Alon. So I'm going to ask my man Dan Dunn, because Danny Dunn is a connoisseur of the horror genre.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's who I would ask too then. I haven't seen it yet. I will give my opinion, man, when I see it. But yeah, Jordan Peele movies kind of got me thinking, because there are horror elements in them, but they're not straight up horror. They're more psychological rather than visual and things like that.
Exactly. So yeah, we got a lot to get to tonight. Well, kind of, actually. You know what? I'll be honest, not a lot of news the last few days. So we'll talk about what's going on with the Raiders at joint practice. They played the Houston Texans. Everybody's going to play tomorrow. We're on the eve of the second week of preseason, and the Niners and Raiders play tomorrow. Not against each other. That'll be week 3, but Raiders taking on the Texans. They did a joint practice a couple days ago, along with the Niners and the Chargers. So we'll react to some of that news. Go around the league, see what's popping up here. The Vita news just popped, so we'll talk about that. And we'll do our Just Your Divisions, man. We'll go through the NFC East. AJ Cruz wanting more attention here. Okay, Derek, you won't me back. I've resubscribed. I've won you back. Gotcha. Good to know, AJ Cruz. All right. The news just happened about an hour ago. Something for us to talk about. Let's give us something to talk about. Vita is staying with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for now. Adam Schefter was alluding to this today when he appeared on Pat McAfee. By the way, real quick, McAfee, going to be on your TV screens a whole hell of a lot. Now he's going to be part of the Monday night pregame show. Mm-hmm. Any thoughts on that, Alon? I don't really watch pregame shows anymore, so I can't say that's going to be a big factor for me.
The only pregame show I really watch still is College Game Day. That's about it.
That's fair.
Just because that's its own, that's a different thing. And it's more of a cultural thing rather than just straight up sports. As far as like Monday Night Countdown or any of that, I don't know. I mean, I bet more people are going to tune in, though. It's Pat McAfee. He carries that network. So, I mean, that man is working a lot. So he's going to be on College Game Day and Monday night. He's working like the Herb Street schedule basically now. Yeah, basically. I mean, they work him to the bone, and that's what happens when you get paid, $65 million a year. So ESPN's going to use you. By the way, speaking of sports media, shout out to Tom Pelissero. I don't know him personally, but I've always been a fan of his work, and he landed with The Ringer. He's going to be, I guess, the NFL insider for The Ringer right now, doing a podcast and a weekly appearance with Bill Simmons. And he's going to be, I guess, the go-to insider for Netflix, sideline reporter for those broadcasts. So I look forward to his, rivalry
of Schefter and Rappaport where we get some big time news. He tries to tweet those out before those guys. All right, let's talk about Vita Vea. So this just happened about an hour ago. Adam Schefter alluded to there being some reconciliation between the Buccaneers and Vita Vea. He was holding out. He wanted a new contract, and he got one, but not a lengthy one. So Vita Vea and the Buccaneers came to terms on a 1-year, $30 million deal, and he gets $6 million in new money this season. So he's tied to the Bucs for the next 2 seasons. And, Niner fans, Raider fans got their hopes up when our guy Ted Wynn tweeted out the day that Vita Vea requested a trade saying that he wants to go to either the Raiders or the Bay Area. It sounded like the Niners, Bills, and Bears were all interested at one point inquiring about Vita Vea. And I thought the Bucs were going to move him. You and I were talking about it like, do you need to pay a defensive tackle a ton of money when Jason Light, their GM, appears to be kind of on the fence on their future? He's not willing to give a long-term deal to Baker Mayfield, or maybe he is, and Baker's just not willing to negotiate right now. But, yeah, this ties Vita Vea to them this season. But then again, similar to Trey Hendrickson a year ago, where Trey Hendrickson had a contract dispute with the Bengals. Mike Brown didn't want to give him a long-term deal, and they settled on a rework deal for 1 year, $30 million. And that was only for that season, last year in 2025. That's why Niner fans were hopeful that with the Nick Bosa injury, maybe the Niners could trade for him at the deadline. That did not happen. He stayed on the Bengals the entire year, was injured, and then left in free agency to go be the backup plan for the Baltimore Ravens once they reneged on the deal with Max Crosby. I think it's kind of a similar deal. Like, just because he's tied to the team for the next 2 years doesn't preclude the Buccaneers from dealing him at the trade deadline if they have a bad year. So it's a resolution for right now, but not a long-term solution for Vita Vea.
No, it's not a long-term solution for him, and it's not a long-term solution for the Buccaneers either. It's just one of those, I don't know if this was kind of a desperation move for them or for him. That's what I'm trying to figure out, because maybe they had signaled to him like, hey, we're just not going to trade you kind of deal. With that's not how it's going to work. And maybe the interest in the market wasn't showing kind of he would get what he would want in the market as well. So he came to terms with them and accepted something that, yes, not lengthy at all. 1 year extension, $30 million, great. So an extra $6 million this year. But in terms of security, and that's usually what these guys want at this point in their career when they're kind of 30 and over, he's not getting it. I don't really understand why the Bucs did this. I would have rather traded him anyway, and just taken what I could have got, because I don't know how this helps them in that okay, obviously it's going to help them, right? He's a good player. He was just outside of the top 10 at his position. PFF had him ranked, 20 out of 134 defensive tackles this past season. But the thing is, it's like, what are you competing for in Tampa Bay? Like, maybe the division, that's about it. I just don't see why you would want to allocate that kind of capital towards someone who's not part of the long-term plan, number one. And number two, you're not even sure kind of how good you're even going to be, regardless of what Baker Mayfield, I think, said yesterday or the day before. He said, we're poised to shock everybody. It's like, all right, Baker, but I mean, look at the pieces that you've lost. Look at how you guys fell apart last year. And I just don't see how Vita Vea really helps them solidify themselves as clearly better than any other team in that division.
Yeah, I mean, that's totally fair. I think also you have to see what's transpired the last few weeks in that division when it comes to injuries. I mean, I'll just admit this before we do our preview show. I was going to pick the Saints in the NFC South, and I still might, but they have been just decimated with injuries, where Alvin Kamara is going to miss a month now. Jordan Tyson, their rookie in the first round, is going to miss 2 months. Brian, is it Breezy Alon? I want to say I keep saying his name wrong.
Yeah, Breezy.
So he's not like, whenever I'm surprised, like, I haven't put that together, because like if his name was Brian Breeze, there'd be so many like connections to Drew Brees, obviously being the most famous Saint of all time. So yeah, they have a chance to win the NFC South, but that's been the thing with them for so long now, where yeah, of course they have a chance to win the NFC South at 8-9 every year, or 9-8, but can they really contend with the other teams in the NFC? So I guess for the Bucks, you're just trying to compete this year. You sign him to a short-term deal, and it's probably the most money he was going to get. Like, I don't know what the Bears, the Bills, or the Niners were offering, but I'm sure all those teams were not willing to pay him $30 million a year. So for him, it's like, let me jump on this. Let me go get this bag for right now. It's a short-term deal. I'm probably going to be either traded or I'm going to, sign with a new team a couple years from now. And he's also 31. So for him, I get it. Get your money. For the Bucks, I kind of get it too, because he's still a really good player for them. It's just, do you want to commit long-term, where a lot of these other defensive tackles were making, buku bucks, Jalen Carter, Jeffrey Simmons, all these guys past 35 annually now. So he's in that price range. I think 30 ties him, or he's right above Dexter Lawrence. I thought that the Buccaneers were going to have the same mentality that the Giants had, where it's like, we're a rebuilding team, but do we need to, devote a lot of cash towards a defensive tackle? Probably not. So I guess it makes sense for both sides. It just doesn't resolve things for Vita Vea to end his career as a Buccaneer, which I'm sure he was intending to do.
Yeah, he probably won't end his career. I mean, unless they have some type of miraculous, ascension that none of us see except for people in that building. He probably will not retire as a Buccaneer or play his last down of football as a Buccaneer. Let's put it that way. He could always go back and do the, retirement thing that everybody else does for the one-day contract. But the other thing is why not just get it over with, right? Why not just rip the Band-Aid? I don't think a $30 million defensive tackle gets you to where you need to be. That's just,
yeah.
I'm not saying tank. I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying, like, look, the Baker thing, it's probably running its course. I don't know if he's going to get a new deal with them eventually. And they've already lost their best player over the last nearly 15 years or so, Mike Evans. And, they got their Super Bowl. That's nice. And it's time to rip the Band-Aid and just kind of get on with this thing. And this is the other thing. They never were a dynasty or anything like that either. So it should be that much easier to break apart. This shouldn't be like holding on to sentimentality, for instance, to relate it to the Bay Area, like how we see the Warriors are doing as an organization. I mean, it's not that same situation, and it's the NFL. So it's, yes, you want to be competitive, which he's going to help them maintain their competitive kind of edge in that bad division, but I would just get it over with. I would not devote $30 million to them. I'd take the whatever fourth round pick I could get for him in a trade and just say, we're done. I mean, because this team's not going to win a Super Bowl. They're not going to win a playoff game probably either.
No, I don't think so either, but I kind of get it where they're still trying to win this year. It's just, what's the long-term goal? Like, I'm with you. I would have much rather see him get traded because I like trades. I like frenzy. But, yeah, I get it. All right. He's still a really good player. 1 year, $30 million. It's not going to kill us. So I get it from the Bucks perspective and Vita Vea's perspective as well. All right. As far as what went on in joint practices for the Raiders and the 49ers, let's start with the Raiders. They went to Houston to do joint practice with the Houston Texans, and Fernando Mendoza got some reps with the first team. Cousins was, in there for the first team reps initially. And he said after the practice, he was very happy to see Mendoza get in there. And Sam Warren of The Athletic, I guess he's a new beat writer along with the Raiders, along with my guy Sam Gordon, who comes over from the Warriors beat, now covering the Las Vegas Raiders. He says Cousins got first team reps, but Mendoza got extensive reps. Mendoza threw a pick six, but played better as the practice went on. The telling thing to me was Will Anderson Jr., who's the heavy favorite to be Defensive Player of the Year this upcoming season, said Mendoza will be great in this league. When you hear all of that, Alon, what does it tell you that Mendoza got extensive first-team reps?
Just tells me that the coaching staff knows already what they have in Kirk Cousins, and I think they know what they have or could potentially have in Fernando Mendoza, but they are trying to get him as many high leverage kind of repetitions and situations as they possibly can to help him grow and help him grow fast before they actually have to throw him into a live game. And I think they get a lot of that out of the joint practices, way more. And we've talked about it, way more than you get out of a preseason match. And you're going to show more of what you actually do as well in the joint practice than you are in a preseason matchup. So I think it's very smart. It's prudent by the coaching staff of the Raiders, by Kubiak and everybody else there, to try to get him reps. They know Kirk Cousins is going to be the starter. They know what he can do. He does not need as much practice time as Mendoza does. And I think they want to see Mendoza, and the key word, extensive repetitions, right, against the best defense in the NFL. I think they want to see what Mendoza could possibly be when they do have to probably throw him in this season. So there's probably not a better kind of gauge of what immediately needs to get worked on right now so he's ready for that moment than going up against the number one defense in the league. And arguably, he's up there. I mean, Myles Garrett's amazing too, but Will Anderson Jr. is top 3 defender in the league for sure.
No, absolutely. And he's paid that way right now, making the most money annually. You mind getting that clip of Mendoza real quick, Alon, at practice? I love the way he talks in these press conferences. And I think AJ Cruz nails it here, talking Raiders. Give Mendoza all the snaps he could get. Sooner or later, he's going to have to start. Might as well give him a feel for the speed of the game. I agree. Like, you know what you have in Kirk Cousins at this point, and why not just throw your first overall pick out there? I don't think it's that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things because Kirk Cousins is going to start. But when it comes to Fernando Mendoza, get his feet wet. It's a joint practice. Yes, he's going to have some growing pains, but it's good to see him go up against arguably the best defense in all of football, because this season you might see him go up against the Buffalo Bills or the LA Rams. He's going to run for his life against Myles Garrett and possibly Aaron Donald. So I'm not going to read into anything where Mendoza is going to start week 1. That is not happening. I think we all agree on that right now. But for Fernando Mendoza, it's a good learning experience to go up against two guys that take his head off in Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson Jr., not to mention the linebackers they have and Derek Stingley Jr. He had some struggles, but he maintained his own in that practice. So good to see that from Fernando Mendoza. And here he is talking to the Las Vegas media and also the Houston media after his practice against the Texans.
Yeah, I would say that it is tough. However, everything that is tough, you wouldn't want something to be easy. If it's tough, it's worth it, and that's why it works at the highest level. And it's great because the teammates, we rely on each other. We rely on the receivers to make the right timing, right route. The receivers rely on the quarterback to throw in the correct timing. The linemen rely on the quarterback to get it out on time. The quarterback rely on the lineman to give them that time to throw it. And then the tight end, I mean, there's so many different variables of it. And when we all rely on each other, I believe it makes us closer. And when we become one oiled unit and we have all this synergy and become a dynamic ecosystem where we're evolving together, playing on time, be able to make, and then still make some off-schedule plays, but mostly playing on time, then that's what teams in this system take the next level from your perspective.
Okay. I can't help but laugh. I think everybody laughs when we hear Fernando Mendoza talk because he sounds like a kid that's learning how to be a professional. And I'll admit this too. I've had these moments on the radio and even on this podcast where I'm just talking, and I'm like, all right, how do I sum this up? And I'm going to say something ridiculous at this point, but I'm just rambling. Yeah, you know what? I saw someone tweet this out the other day, and I think it's accurate. Fernando Mendoza talks like he's the white Jameis Winston, where he's just saying things and making these analogies and, you know, very cliche things. But you're like, okay, I can understand what you're saying there, but also like, what the hell are you saying? Like, he's just, I don't know. He sounds like a young kid who's learning how to be an NFL quarterback. So I don't know. I'm not going to knock him on how he is with the media. All that matters is how he plays.
No, he is funny. He's so genuine. That's the thing. That's what's so funny about it, is because for a long time people were like, is this an act? Is it not? And it's clearly not, because if it was an act,
who he is. Yeah,
it would have been dropped for a while now, probably. And he's just so excited. It's interesting. You don't always want to show everybody how excited you are to be there. He's able to show everybody that he's excited to just be there while also perform, because usually if you're just excited to be there, that's kind of a red flag. But he has this exuberance and enthusiasm that is not always seen. I like that. The white Jameis Winston. Some of the times where he talks, you can start to hear it too. You're like, it's kind of like young Tom Brady there, or when Tom Brady gets himself into an avenue and doesn't know how to wrap it up. But then Mendoza takes it to a whole nother level, and it is very similar to Jameis Winston. Like he's dropping knowledge on you, but you don't know what the hell he's actually
Exactly.
So,
exactly. It feels that way where he's just like, all right, you're going ecosystem here. You're going on oiled machine. You're just using a lot of analogies there. And, you probably could sum it up a little bit more. AJ Cruz also says in the chat here, at some point, he's not going to want to talk to the media. Let him get it all out now. I don't know. I think his personality is he knows this comes with the territory. And since he's been a young athlete, from high school to college, playing quarterback at Cal in Miami, Indiana. He's from Miami. I think that he likes the spotlight. I really do. Not that he's like Joe Theismann, like, oh, I want to be a part of this interview. He knows that he's got to be the quarterback of this team. He's got to be the one that's front and center. So no matter how it's going to look, whether it's the lowest of lows or the highest of highs, I think he's always going to talk to the media.
Yeah, I don't foresee that ever becoming a problem for him. I think he genuinely enjoys it. I think he likes talking to people. I think he likes just expressing himself too whenever he can. So that's a good fit for him. And luckily for him, the Las Vegas media is relatively soft when it comes to really going after people. So he probably won't. It's not going to be like him being in New York or something like that, where you really could get sick of it immediately, right? So that's not going to be that kind of situation. But just back to him getting the first team reps.
Yeah,
I think it's really important, and they're making the right decision. And for other franchises, maybe this would be like, oh man, that probably means he's going to start so quickly. But I think this franchise made the right move in getting Kirk Cousins, because they went, he's not going to need a lot of get up to speed time in this offense. He knows it. He knows it really well. And so we can really just focus on Fernando Mendoza and try to get him to where he needs to be to at least be serviceable when he gets into real game action. As far as what Will Anderson Jr. said about him being great, I love that. I mean, I love hearing that. And you can see some of those qualities in his play. Now, I want to see them in a regular season game, not just a preseason game and not just college. But it seems like he's being able to build on every single, step here up the ladder. We'll see where the regression comes. But for now, I'm not going to say it's smooth sailing, but it's very much like this kid's game, for whatever reason, does seem to translate. And it's probably because he has it up here.
I think so, too. He's got a good head on his shoulders. Can you mind getting the other clip I sent you, Alon, where he talked about just getting the first team reps and going up against the Texans? Like, yeah, I think that, he checks off all the boxes when it comes to his poise and how he handles the media. It's just how he's going to handle things his rookie year when it comes to his play. But here's Fernando Mendoza taking the good and the bad in his joint practice against the Texans.
Able to go against the Texans defense, which is also a top defense in the league. Go against them, be able to get some reps with the ones against the superstars on their defense. And then obviously their twos are fantastic as well. We got so much work, whether it was move the ball, first down, third down, red zone, 2 minute. There's so many situations. And I believe overall it was a positive day. There were plays that I loved and plays that I wish I had back. But in reality, that's a lie. I wish I didn't have them back, because it's a growing experience. And it's practice. It's practice, and this is what I love. And it's a beautiful day to play football here. And I'm so happy. If so many things to learn from today.
There you go. There you go. You know what? The chat here brings up young Tony. He's Tony Farias. You might see him on, what is he on? KTVU now on early in the morning. He was with us at KNBR for a little bit of time. And he was this young, hardworking, somewhat naive kid who didn't know, a lot about radio, but came in and wide-eyed and just very happy to be there. And he made the most of the opportunity, but he would talk like that, just like, glad to be here. Or is it KPIX? KPIX, my bad. But yeah, young Tony kind of reminds me of Fernando Mendoza, where he was like, yeah, you got to take the good and the bad. Some plays I want back. But you know what? Actually, that's a lie, because it's a good learning experience to throw those interceptions.
It's like a student giving a presentation.
Yes.
And he's trying to do all the things that you need to do to get the good grade, and he actually likes doing them. So he's like, I'm here to work on my it's like he's working on his public speaking. It's so fascinating.
Yeah.
I have not seen too many athletes, especially number 1 overall draft picks, be the way that he is. So for me, refreshing to see. But yeah, that is funny, man. He's like the intern who's just ready to go.
Exactly. That was young Tony. And for Fernando Mendoza, I think Rich Eisen said this today. He seems like the Raiders quarterback on Sesame Street. Not in like an like in an insulting way, but like, I'm Fernando Mendoza. I'm the quarterback of the Las Vegas Raiders. This drive is brought to you by the letter A. And like, you know what? If he plays well, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
There is, I'm like, let me know how you feel about this, Alon. Is there a certain section of the fan base? And again, like, it's hard to say because I don't know how many Las Vegas Raider fans are a part of the Raider mystique of what it used to be. But like, when you hear of Raider quarterbacks, the legends, Ken Stabler, Daryl LaMonica, those guys live the Raider way. And Fernando Mendoza is just not going to be that guy. Derek Carr, similar, not in this like same way of like speaking to the media. But I think like for some Raider fans, and again, this is going to be kind of ignorant, but they're going to be like, God, this guy's fucking cheesy as hell.
I think there is an element out there that does think that, but I think the quarterback play post Derek Carr has been so poor. And besides Derek Carr, the quarterback play had been so poor since Rich Gannon got injured that they don't really care, most of them. Now, if he plays badly, those are going to be the things that come out first. People are going to go, oh, he needs to, toughen up and grow up and not be so cheesy and make comments like that. But I think there is a small segment of the fan base that's like, this guy's not really a Raider. And it's like, well, it's kind of hard to be a Raider in that sense, not just because they moved to Las Vegas, but it's 2026 now. Like, it's not the 1970s or the 1980s or even the 1990s. Like, it's just not that era anymore. And most athletes are not like that. Yeah, they are part of a team and will try to represent the brand of the team, but you can't turn the clock back. So I think there's a small segment that would want him to be a little different, but I think it's a very small segment. And I think those are the fans that would get angry at anything if nothing's going right to begin with. I mean, I've heard some of the nastiest things said about Derek Carr at the Oakland Coliseum, and just uncalled for, especially when he was on bad teams half the time. So fans are going to do what fans do.
It still bothers me that the lasting image of Derek Carr at the Coliseum in Oakland is fans throwing beer bottles at him. Like, that bothers me. Yeah. I prefer to remember the win they had in 2018 on Christmas Eve against the Broncos, Monday Night Football. But yeah, people thought that Derek Carr was Mr. Goody Two-Shoes. And honestly, to your point, Alon, a lot of quarterbacks like that these days. Like Joe Burrow's not some badass. He's a Star Wars nerd. He bought the Batmobile. Justin Herbert, he's got, what's her name? Madison Beers. Yes. Or beer, single beer. But he's kind of a nerd too. Just kind of like, a homebody surfer guy. At least that's a vibe I get from. So same thing with Mahomes. Kind of the same deal with Josh Allen, even though he's with Haley Steinfeld. So I don't know. I think you're right. Those days of those quarterbacks that are perceived bad boys, not the case in the NFL today.
No, they're not. They can't be Brett Favre. Like, you can't, and you don't want to maybe either. So, these guys, it's the nerdiest position in the sport besides someone on the coaching staff, and most of them are kind of nerds. Like, it seems to be the way it is. Yeah, Patrick Mahomes is a great example because he's not some renegade running around. He's just damn good at what he does. Like, Steph Curry's not some renegade icon in that.
Oh God, no.
No, and those two guys are very similar to each other. They just do something better than everybody else.
Exactly. As Rocket New Era says in the chat, talented nerds. You're damn right they are. Let's move over to the 49ers, talking about their joint practice with the LA Chargers. And let's start with some rumblings about Christian McCaffrey not actually having tightness. I feel like it's, I don't know if I said this before on this show, but like Knocked Up, you know that scene where Katherine Heigl's kind of trying to get like a job on E, and the executive's like, just a little, you need to be a little more tight, just a little more tight. And right now, that's what's going on with Christian McCaffrey. That's like Kyle Shanahan's go-to thing for everybody right now, whether it's McCaffrey or Nick Bosa or Mike Evans. He's got a little tightness, a little too tight. And that's been the deal with McCaffrey for about a week now. And I know some Niner fans are skeptical because it's like, all right, we've heard this before. There was an injury that was swept under the rug 2 training camps ago, and he was out for a good deal of time with bilateral knee tendonitis. But I think they're just being very cautious. And I think that Kyle Shanahan has to be that way with his star players. So Nick Bosa is not going to practice with knee tendonitis, or that just may be a general statement with what's going on with his knees. As far as McCaffrey, he's missed practice. Kyle said yesterday he would have been, able to go in a game. It's just it's training camp right now, and they don't want to play him in a joint practice against the Chargers. But Mike Florio and some other people threw out maybe McCaffrey is holding out. Maybe or holding in, I guess I should say. Maybe he saw what Jahmyr Gibbs and Bijan Robinson got on their contracts, and he wants a little more Skrilla. Well, Ian Rappaport and Adam Schefter both put that to bed quickly, and so did Kyle Shanahan. Shanahan said yesterday, people could speculate all they want, and they would be wrong. No, that's not what's happening here. And, yeah, I don't think that was the case from the get-go. I think that this actually is something's bothering him in training camp, and they're just being very cautious. So, no. And honestly, I'll say this too. McCaffrey is due $12.5 million this year, but it's not guaranteed. If the Niners want to guarantee that for this upcoming season, yes, he's worth it. Absolutely. Is he worth top running back money in comparison to Bijan and Jahmyr Gibbs and Jonathan Taylor? No. I'm sorry, but he's 30 years old. I get he had an all-time year. Not an all-time year, I shouldn't say that, but he almost had a 1,000 season again. McCaffrey is obviously so crucial to what they're going to do this season, but if I were the Niners, I would not make him the highest paid running back of football. It's just, I'm sorry, the trends show that he's more likely to be done in a couple seasons than keep playing. So while I don't think, I believe in what the insiders are saying, I don't think anything's going on with his contract. I think it is the tightness, and I'm not overly concerned with that right now. But still, I would not make McCaffrey the highest paid running back of football.
Not on any kind of long-term basis. I mean, so what? Bijan and Jahmyr are both getting over
3-year deals.
Yeah, and over 22 million AAV basically, right? And McCaffrey is right in there in the fifth spot at 19 million AAV on his contract. So if you were going to make him the highest paid, it would be kind of a one-off thing. It would be a 1 year or something like that. And I don't see that happening either. Look, he had over 400 touches last year. He was the highest usage, rate player in the NFL, and he had over 2,000 yards from scrimmage. So his usage rate was through the roof. I'm sure he's not just feeling tightness because a lot of players at his position do, especially when they're ramping up for the season. But Kyle Shanahan has used him a lot. He's been a workhorse for this offense. So I think they are trying to do everything that they possibly can to make sure that this guy, especially this guy, can get to the starting line healthy. And if that means that his usage rate is, I'm not going to say half of what it was last year, but let's just say like 3/4 of what it was last year, then that's okay. If it means that he's not being used a lot in the first couple weeks of the season because they want to be very cautious with it, that's okay too. What you don't want to have happen is him coming off a 413 touch season last year and then coming right back into it, getting 25 to 30 touches a game for the first couple of weeks, and then boom, he's got this lingering tightness, whatever that is, for the rest of the year. That compromises you. This team's already compromised with no Pearsall. So the last thing you can have, and I know Stribling looks really good, but the last thing you want or can have if you want to have a successful season is McCaffrey go out for any kind of extended period of time. So I think they are just being as cautious as they possibly can without disclosing exactly what is going on with his legs. And maybe it is just tightness. It very well could just be tightness, and that's the answer we get. I don't know.
Yeah, but also Kyle was asked specifically, where is the tightness? Is it in his knees, Achilles? And Kyle was like, I'm not going to answer that.
Yeah.
So, and that's smart because then it turns into something. But Kyle's being very careful with his words this training camp, and I don't blame him because when it comes to injuries in the 49ers, people freak out, and fans are entitled to freak out about that. Me personally, just seeing so many injuries across the board in training camp, I'm not going to freak out until guys are missing week 1 when they go to Australia. As far as the joint practice itself, people are saying that Justin Herbert shredded the Niners defense and the secondary. I saw a few clips. He threw a long touchdown pass to Brendan Thompson. Though you will see some Niner fans tweet out, well, he would have been sacked on that play. And I hear you. In a normal situation, he would have been sacked. But who's sacking Justin Herbert on this team? Like, not to be, like, I get it. A normal NFL pass rush gets after Justin Herbert, and he may be losing offensive linemen already. We'll get to that a little bit here. But you saw what happened last year against the Texans. C.J. Stroud had all day to throw. A lot of guys had all day to throw. So you can tell me that some Niner would have sacked Justin Herbert on that play. I'm not so sure about that. And maybe, hopefully, a healthy Nick Bosa gets after him. But the majority of guys that are on the Niners' defensive line right now, I don't know if they're getting after him. They only had 20 sacks a year ago. So, I talked about this with JD last week, John Dickinson, where is this Niner defense going to be more back seven oriented, where it's the linebackers in the secondary that's going to be their strength? Could be with Raheem Morris. And they're going to do more of a five-man front. But, yeah, I wouldn't put too much stock into it. I just also wouldn't say, like, automatically, like, oh, if Justin Herbert was in a real game, he would have been sacked. I'm not so sure about that.
Yeah, Justin Herbert is kind of a practice god. Like, he does look good for sure, and he's really tough to compete with. And we can show that long ball that he had.
Yeah.
We have it here, but I'm not going to put stock into that either. And I think that is a really bad way to start thinking about things, Derek. And I know you're not thinking about that, but like when fans start to go, well, in a real game, it wouldn't happen. And then you kind of start saying that it's different because you're a fan, not a player, right? When the players say it, it's a really bad thing, right? If they say, real game, I would have made the tackle. It's like, okay, that's an issue. But as a fan, if you're watching it and you're starting to say things like that, it's like, I don't know if that's the case, because that might be wishful thinking. So you can see Herbert drop back here, load it up, and then, boo, that's a rainbow. I mean, that's going to happen. It's practice. I get it. But it is a beautiful ball, and we know Herbert can do that. But I just would not rely on the narrative of, well, in a real game, he'd be sacked. Because how many times do bad teams or teams with deficiencies at one position group or another? This happens a lot with DBs, actually, with fans. When we look at DBs, we look at DBs on a team and go, oh, well, once they get a little more time and once the regular season starts, they'll be a lot safer and they'll look a lot better and they'll play it better. Now, oftentimes, no. I mean, they're going to look like what they look like in practice. So if there are problems getting after the quarterback in practice, in a joint practice too, where you're allowed to be much more aggressive, you probably are going to have similar deficiencies going into the regular season. I'm not saying it's not something that can't be corrected, but it's something to be concerned about. I would not fall back on the, well, it's a practice, it's a preseason. Once the season starts, it's going to be different. I'm guilty of this sometimes. I've done it before with the Raiders. I've done it with the Warriors as well. Like, I've done this, especially with the Warriors. But it is something that needs to be watched. I mean, you can't just shoo it away, because this is a problem this team had last year. They could not get after the quarterback. What have they done differently to be able to get after the quarterback? I haven't seen the big splash change that they need to make to get after the quarterback in a more aggressive and consistent manner. I haven't seen it.
No, I don't think any fan could say that right now. So it's a practice, but Justin Herbert's, like, let's be honest too, like, he got a lot of shit last year for his performance in the playoff game against the Patriots, but he was running for his life with that offensive line. Doesn't excuse him from his performance, but at the same time, he's one of the better quarterbacks in all of football. So I'm not surprised by that. And also, like, you see other clips, Mike McDaniel going crazy when he threw one touchdown in practice. And that's him. That's really Mike McDaniel going from Tua to Justin Herbert and being like, this is night and day. The funniest part of that clip, though, is Mike McDaniel's going crazy. Everybody's going crazy. And then Jim Harbaugh's like, I can make that throw.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, stop, Jim. Just stop it. Just no. Justin Herbert, like, even though he talks up Justin Herbert in all these press conferences and saying, like, he might be the greatest quarterback I've ever seen in my life, he's like, no, come on. I could be just as good as him. As far as other takeaways from the Chargers 49ers joint practice, it wasn't all Chargers. Fred Warner flew around and punched the ball out with David Njoku making good plays. Dejon Stribling looked good, as he did from the preseason game, catching a fade round in red zone drills. Omarion Hampton for the Chargers trucking over Jair Brown. So those are just some of the clips that I saw. I don't know if there's any strong takeaways from the practice. The big thing is for the Chargers, Tyler Biotish suffered an ACL injury. He's going to get a second opinion, but that's not good for their offensive line. And if you want to see the play, here's Omarion Hampton trucking over Jair Brown. Yeah. I don't know who's going to get the bulk of the carries with the Chargers this year. Probably Omarion Hampton. But they also got, who was that guy? Vidal, the receiving back a year ago. And he also picked up, is it Keaton Mitchell from Baltimore?
And they have what's his face too?
That's it.
No, they have one other running back, I thought. No, maybe I'm mistaken.
You thinking of Najee or?
Yeah, no, I'm not thinking of Najee Harris. No. My mind is somewhere else. But yeah, Omarion Hampton's probably going to get the lion's share of the carries for sure. He has to.
I would say so. But yeah, as far as Tyler Biotish, I mean, they got to run behind that offensive line, these running backs. And last year, the story of the Chargers was Rashawn Slater being out from the get-go in training camp, and then Joe Alt having injuries as well. So their offensive line was decimated. And their big acquisition this offseason, Jim Harbaugh always talks about his weapons. He talks about offensive linemen. Tyler Biotish, who signed, I think, a 3-year, $30 million deal, or maybe it was more than that, but whatever it was. Tyler Biotish suffered a ACL injury. I don't know if it's a torn ACL, but he suffered a knee injury, and he's going to be out indefinitely. He's going to get other opinions on his knee, but yeah, not good for the Chargers when they already had offensive line issues from a year ago.
No, not good. And the guy I was thinking of was Amar Johnson, because he's preseason superstar. I don't know if he's going to make the team or not, but yeah, and not just this with the Chargers. We also saw the Texans had a player go down as well, Jaden Higgins. Yeah. So these joint practices can be not good. That's the problem with this. So yeah, you don't want to see that. I mean, this is already why we don't play a lot of preseason games to begin with, is to keep people healthy. And then when you're ramping up for the season, stuff's going to happen. I pray to God that stuff does not happen to the Niners, because they've been cursed now for a little while.
No, definitely. But yeah, and I saw Schefter bring this up today when he was on McAfee, being like, there's so many injuries. There has been in training camps. Like, let's be honest, like they're practicing every day.
Sure.
But it's also the element of the new CBA agreement. Like, are they practicing as much as they should? Is it because they're not getting enough work, where their muscles are not as tight, as Kyle Shanahan would say? Maybe they're too tight at times. But yeah, not good for the Chargers. You want to see their offensive line be a little bit better. Well, I know Alon doesn't, but yeah, you just don't want to see injuries when it comes to that position right now. And as far as just an update from Shanahan, other injuries with the Niners, Mykel Williams is a long shot to play week 1. Their first-round draft pick from a season ago. How they're going to use him on the defensive line, they need pass rush so badly. I don't know if he's going to be like a 15-sack type of player. He's going to be more versatile. If I had to guess, I think he's going to be more like John Franklin Myers, who could be used as a defensive tackle or defensive end. So, yeah, not surprising. He tore that ACL, I want to say mid-season at MetLife Stadium. So, yeah, don't expect him to be back week 1. As far as some other storylines from training camp, Trayvon Diggs, who was great with the Cowboys for a while, one of the better cornerbacks in football, was released mid-season with them, signed with the Packers, didn't play along with them. He signed with the Seahawks today. This is after they signed Terrion Arnold, though, and it kind of seems like they're going to wait. They're going to wait till make that official, because I saw the clip last night on Hard Knocks with John Schneider and him walking on his treadmill while he does business. I don't know if he was oblivious to maybe he'd be on the exempt list, but it sounds like they're going to wait to officially sign him when they get more clarity on his whole legal situation. So it sounds like he's going to be on the team. It's just a matter of when, though, which is kind of a weird deal given his legal situation.
No, he's kind of, as far as Terrion is, he's kind of stuck in limbo there. So they decided to go out and get another Alabama defensive back in Trayvon Diggs. I like Diggs a lot. Ultimate gambler, though, when it comes to being a DB. I mean, he's either going to turn the ball over for you, or he's going to get scored on, or at the NFL level, that's just been his game, right? He's been a kind of feast or famine guy, but that's okay. The Seahawks feel very comfortable on the other side with Dev there, so they know they can shut one side down, and maybe Trayvon doesn't have to play the heavy load that he has in the past and can come in during certain situations. But it did kind of seem like a scramble move, but this is the kind of move you can make when you're defending Super Bowl champion and your roster's pretty damn good to start with already.
Yeah, and they want depth at the defensive back position. They lost Tariq Woolen in free agency. So, yeah, I think John Schneider will always invest in cornerback help, or depth, I should say. As far as other acquisitions that were made the last couple of days, I was surprised by this. I thought his days were numbered in the NFL. Keenan Allen signs with the Colts on a 1-year, $8.3 million deal. And all right season a year ago when he was reunited with the Chargers and Justin Herbert. But at, what is it, he's 34 years old or 33? I was kind of surprised he's still going to play in this league. And it makes sense, I guess. The Colts need some wide receiver depth. They lost Michael Pittman. They paid Alec Pierce a ton of money, but he's been injured for most of the offseason. I don't know if he's off PUP with the Colts right now. They have, who was it, Josh Downs, their slot guy. And Keenan Allen knows Shane Steichen from the Chargers days, so he'll know the offense. I'm just surprised that Keenan Allen's just still playing football, to be honest.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Not just because he's been in the league since 2013, right? And that he's 33, but I don't know if you've ever seen Keenan Allen when he's had to give like an interview out of, you know what I'm talking about, right?
His shoulders, yeah.
Yeah. So if you've seen the injuries that this guy has taken to his clavicles and shoulders and stuff like that, I mean, it's like bones are sticking out. I mean, he's been an absolute warrior. He's gotten a lot of nicks and bruises over the years, but good signing for them. He's been a menace for the Chargers for a long time. He did have that one weird year in with Chicago, right? Was that in 2024?
Yep.
And yeah, that was kind of a one-off, and then went right back to the Chargers. I have a question, Derek. Was he the last San Diego Charger on that roster?
Might be.
Yeah, so he may have been the last San Diego Charger
to play for the LA Chargers you're talking about?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Is he the last San Diego Charger to
There might be somebody obscure that I'm not thinking about, but that's the first name that comes to mind.
Yeah, so I mean, if that's the case, that's the end of an era there. Keenan Allen, I think, is still, even though he'll be 33, and I think let me see his birthday here. He's April 27th, so he's 34 right now. So he'll be 34 for the entire season. I think he'll still be productive. He did have, 4 touchdowns and over 700 yards last year. He's not the same Keenan Allen he used to be, but he can still get open and catch the ball. It's just going to be a question of how many snaps can he play at this age. Talk about a guy who is at the top of like Hall of Very Good, not Hall of Fame, right? Keenan Allen. I mean, he's been a damn good receiver for a long time. So that's a good signing. I actually thought there was a chance that he might actually come to Las Vegas way back when during the offseason. And someone that works over at CBS here was like, no, he'll come back she's a Charger fan. She's like, he'll come back to the Chargers. He's never going to leave. Well, I guess he's gone now.
He is gone now, and he goes to Indianapolis. As far as another pickup that was made the other day, I think yesterday actually, Najee Harris, Bay Area guy, played for Alabama. He signs with the New York Giants, so he goes from one Harbaugh brother to another, and just a lot of injuries with him the last few years. But last year with his the Chargers, I mean, so many things where he was blinded for a little bit of time because of a fireworks mishap. I want to say he went to a fireworks show. I could be wrong, but it sounded like it was in a warehouse, and that led to him, having to wear a cover over his eye and being on PUP. And then he tore his Achilles with the Chargers during the season. So now he lands with the Giants, and they need running back depth. I'm not a Cam Scatterboo guy just because I don't believe in him long-term. I don't see like breakaway speed or anything. Like, he's a guy that can give the ball on the goal line. I see more of a fullback, and I know people are like, well, you're saying that because he's a white running back. No, that's just what I see. Patrick Ricard's there from the Baltimore Ravens to reunite with John Harbaugh, but I don't know. I wouldn't say I have high hopes for Najee Harris with the Giants, but might be I don't know, a little bit better option than Cam Scatterboo at this point?
I think if he actually can recover from the Achilles, then yes, better option in terms of being the primary back. But man, when he was in Pittsburgh, it was tough sledding. Like, he had 1,000-yard seasons, right? But that's because they just slammed him like repeatedly up the middle and then on the edges as well. Like, he did not have these big dominant performances that he did in college by any means. And he's picked up a lot of mileage on his body at the running back position so far in his career, and he's only heading into year 6. So, yeah, I mean, he only played 3 games last year. We mentioned the injury. I'm looking at his stats right now. I mean, he's never had a year where he's averaged more than 4.1 yards a carry. So, I mean, it's been tough. Now, maybe things will change for him in New York, but they're not a very good team. So, it could be more of the same. It could be the treatment he got in Pittsburgh, where it's like, Najee, we're going to hand you the ball a ton of times, and you're going to get like 2.8 to 3.5 yards a carry, and it's going to suck. It's going to be really, and you might pop one every once in a while, but you're going to take a beating. So I don't know how it's going to work. I hope he's able to recover and come back, but that's tough, man. And he's still a young player, but an Achilles injury, you don't know what's going to happen.
No, you don't. And we'll see. I don't think there's anybody that stands out really in that backfield. People will say Cam Scatterboo. There's Tyrone Tracy, who's not great in pass protection, as we saw in the preseason game when Jackson Dart got blown up. I think they also still have Devin Singletary on that team. So a lot of, running backs that used to be good, Najee Harris and Devin Singletary and younger guys and Tyrone Tracy and Cam Scatterboo. I just really don't know what to make of the Giants. But let's talk about it more in our division previews. Just your divisions, man. We did the AFC East last time. Now we're doing the NFC East. Which team do you want to start with, Alon?
Let's start with everybody's favorite team, God's favorite team, the Cowboys.
Okay. All right, let's start with the Cowboys. So a year ago, they finished 7-9-1. It was Brian Schottenheimer's first season as head coach of the football team. And Matt Eberflus was their defensive coordinator. He's out after one season. They go out and get Christian Parker, who was a part of Vic Fangio's defense with the Philadelphia Eagles, their cornerback, so I should say their defensive backs coach. And they need to improve on the defense, so they start making deals. They trade for Rashawn Gary. They trade for D. Winters. They go out and sign Jalen Thompson and Kobe Durant and P.J. Locke. They draft defensively as well with Caleb Downs, everybody's favorite player, it seems like, from Ohio State, along with Malachi Lawrence, the pass rusher from UCF. And I thought that their biggest offseason talk was going to be contract for George Pickens. Right now, you might say that him and CeeDee Lamb are the best wide receiver tandem in football. They both, in my opinion, are number ones. George Pickens had a great year, not as crazy as his time with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I thought that he was going to make a big stink because I forget the name of the agent, but the same guy that represents George Pickens represented Micah Parsons, and we all know how that went last season. And I thought that George Pickens would not want to play ball with them and, hold out the whole 9 yards. In the end, George Pickens is understanding, no contract drama whatsoever. He's playing on the tag this year, which I find very surprising. But yeah, he's going to be, a Boy Scout for them this season. And then we'll see what happens next offseason. Do they have to pay him and maybe see what happens with CeeDee Lamb? But right now they're all in on offense. They're all in on defense. And they signed Von Miller this past week. So my biggest question with the Cowboys this season, Alon, is can the defense make this team a dangerous playoff team? And that's the goal for the Cowboys. Like, Super Bowl, I think Dak Prescott wore a T-shirt saying Super Bowl. Same thing with Jerry Jones. He wants to win a Super Bowl, but there's also baby steps. They just were a 7-9 team a year ago. But if they are a good defense or maybe just an average defense with that offense, can they be a dangerous team? Can they win the NFC East when the Eagles might take a step back with so many changes to their offense? And the goal, obviously, is to get to the NFC Championship game for the first time since 1995. So, yeah, it's all on the defense. Can this defense step it up to make this team not only a playoff team, but a dangerous playoff team?
The offense on that team is returning all 11. Think about that. All 11 starters. There should be no issue for this team to put up points, and we've seen them do it. So that shouldn't be a problem at all. I still love their offensive line. I like Guyton on the left side. Booker's a really good guard on the right. Like, I think Dak takes a lot of flack. Hey, that rhymed, but it's not always warranted. I mean, he's never really had, he has had defenses that can shine at times, but he hasn't, at least as of late, he's never really had one that's at least been average. So I think he just needs 16th, 15th ranked defense in the league, and you could see that team be pretty scary. I do like the corner room. They did kind of revamp that. Caleb Downs is probably going to play nickel, a lot of nickel, which is good. He can do that. He can also flex out in the safety area. Hooker's a good safety as well. And then Siobhan Ravel, who they picked last year, is a really good corner as well. Well, hopefully in development, turns into a good corner. So I think they have the pieces to at least be average. You mentioned the defense, Derek. They have to hold up their end of the bargain. They did get better against the run when they got Quinnen, right, last year. But the pass defense was still horrendous, not good. They gave up almost 60 explosives through the air, 58 plays of 20 yards or more through the air. That has to get corrected. I'm not saying they're going to be like a Vic Fangio defense that prevents explosive plays, but they need to at least do something like that, because if they can't, every game that they end up in, when they have a chance, it's going to be them scoring in the 30s. And when they don't, it's going to be, oh, shoot, our offense just doesn't have it today, and we're going to get blown out because our defense can't stop anybody. I have the same question as you, Derek. Can that defense – because I think they'll be able to create some pressure now.
Yep.
But I don't know if the back end is going to hold up as well as it should.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the biggest question mark is that defense, and Brian Schottenheimer going into his second year. Yeah, I mean, I think that, depending on what the Eagles do this season – I think the Cowboys could be a playoff team, but this division might be more competitive than people think. So let's move on. Let's go to the team that won the division in back-to-back years for the first time since 2004, the Philadelphia Eagles. And for a team that were the defending champions a year ago, they had what a lot of people thought was a down year. And honestly, it was disappointing with the way they started to the way they finished. I think they started 4-0. That great comeback win against the Rams. Getting by against the Buccaneers, and then it all kind of their offense just didn't look the same. Defensively, they look like the team from the championship year, but offensively, Jalen Hurts regressed. So with that, they fire Kevin Patullo, who was going to be the guy filling in for Kellen Moore, and he was that guy. But then it turned out that he wasn't really creative with the offense, and it might have been more Jalen Hurts than Kevin Patullo, but he's let go. He was the pass game coordinator with the Eagles for a long time, got elevated, but they fire him after one season. And they bring in Sean Mannion, who hasn't been a coach for too long. He was the quarterback's coach with the Green Bay Packers, worked under Matt LaFleur. And he's only, I think, 34, was a backup quarterback with Sean McVay and Kevin O'Connell. So he knows that scheme. It's just a matter of, can Jalen Hurts, kind of like Fernando Mendoza, can he play under center? And that's pretty telling for a guy that's been in the league for quite some time now. Won Super Bowl MVP, was runner-up for MVP. And we have question marks. Can he handle this offense? The big move of the offseason was trading away A.J. Brown. It was the writing on the wall was there. A.J. Brown was just not happy. Even though they were winning Super Bowls and winning games, he wanted to do it a certain way. And he liked Mike Vrabel. It seemed like he wasn't a fan of Nick Sirianni or Jalen Hurts. So they move on from him. They trade him away. They trade for Jonathan Grenard. They trade for Dontavian Wicks. They draft Mekhi Lemon from USC. So they want a certain wide receiver in this offense. They want like skinny slot guys like, Devontae Smith or Malachi Lemon, or they sign Hollywood Brown, Marquise Hollywood Brown. They also went out and got Tariq Woolen, because one of their biggest weaknesses, I thought, a year ago was who was playing in that second cornerback slot. Or not slot, but you know what I mean, the second cornerback next to Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. So, not to mention, they also got rid of, I think it's Jonathan Stoutland, their longtime offensive line coach, who was instrumental in the success of Jason Kelsey and Landon Johnson. and they move on from him. I guess just his philosophy on offensive line didn't mesh with Sean Mannion and even Nick Sirianni. So the biggest question mark with me is, can Jalen Hurts play well in this offensive scheme that's going to be Matt LaFleur-like, Kyle Shanahan-like, Sean McVay-like? It's all contingent on Jalen Hurts. I have a ton of faith that Vic Fangio can work wonders with that defense. He always has. It's just Jalen Hurts. He had a bad season a year ago. And today they did a joint practice with the New England Patriots, seeing A.J. Brown. Jalen Hurts threw 3 interceptions. So can Jalen Hurts be the guy we saw in the Super Bowl and the almost MVP season of 2022, or is he going to keep regressing like we saw a year ago?
Jalen might be capped out on what he can continue to evolve into, and that's concerning if you're the Eagles, because that means you're going to need to start thinking about something else. I don't know if it's there yet, but the regression last year was apparent, and it was, I want to throw the ball deep for Verts kind of, and then part of this was the play calling as well. But I want to throw deep, and then if it's not there, I'm going to run. And if that's not there, I'm dump it off to Saquon and see what he can make happen. I like the draft pick of Mekhi Lemon. I think that'll help as like their third wide receiver. They probably wanted him to be number 2, but he's been injured. He's got a hamstring that he's dealing with so far during camp, and it's not been cooperating with him. So Dontavian Wicks, a lot's going to be put on his plate. I don't have any questions about Devontae Smith, Slim Reaper. I think he'll be fine. Everywhere else on that offense is like not horrible. It's just, can Jalen Hurts do what he needs to do and not turn the ball over? So very alarming that he turned the ball over 3 times in a joint practice. I do like what P1 Pat H said. I remember Sean Mannion from Oregon State. Nice beaver.
Nice beaver. Take a gun.
Yeah. Also, Sean Mannion, who's going to be the play caller now. Bay Area, Tri-Valley kind of local kid, went to high school at Foothill in Pleasanton.
Yep.
So, maybe some rooting interest there if you're in the East Bay. I think Pleasanton's the East Bay.
Yeah.
But Sean Mannion, he'll be calling the plays. I don't. Jalen Hurts, I think, can play under center. I don't know if he wants to. Let's put it that way. That's the problem. So if that ends up being a point of friction where they're butting heads on that, then someone's got to go. And I would say you've already gotten great production out of Jalen Hurts for where you drafted him and what you've been able to get out of him with the Super Bowl. But I don't have as much confidence in this team that I did last year, because what they showed on offense was so not up to standard last year, and they could have been a much better team. Defensively, I love them getting Rick Woolen, because Quinyon Mitchell on the other side, they're going to lock a lot of teams down. And then Cooper DeJean, like, this team at all 3 levels defensively has no issues. Stellar. They just need the offense to be marginally better than they were last year. And maybe that means it's more Saquon. Maybe that means the offense is more Saquon-centric. And if that's the case, then Jalen Hurts is going to need to play under center, because if I have Saquon Barkley, I'm not just running him out of the gun or the pistol. I want to see him get downhill and be able to see the defense and set up his blocks and get into the game that way. So that's the question there. I'm not going to put a ton of stock into what's going on in the practices and stuff like that with them, because they are a proven team. They've been there and done that. But this could be interesting. And you hit it, Derek, with their offensive line coach, Jeff Stoutland, leaving. Like, that's a big hole. He's been there for 13 years. So, I mean, he's guided them to a lot of success. And that's a missing piece now. So, I don't know. Sean Mannion, young play caller, young offensive guy. I don't know how this thing's going to work. It could flame out, to be honest. I'm not too high on the Eagles right now. And
if it does, you got to wonder about Jalen Hurts' future with the Philadelphia Eagles. I think he's got 2 years left on his deal. Let me ask you this, Alon. Do you think there's a possibility at any point this season we see Jalen Hurts bench and you see Tanner McKee play for the Eagles?
Not unless they're really bad. No, I mean, they're going to have to be like out of playoff. They'll have to be like a 7-9 type team, I think, to see that happen.
I wouldn't be surprised if he's struggling and just can't get a firm grip on this offense.
Sure.
Where we saw it before. And again, a different coach. It was Doug Peterson, but same front office and owner, and Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie. They benched Carson Wentz for Jalen Hurts. And there's a lot of talk about Tanner McKee And I don't know. I'm not gonna act like I've seen a ton of him. But yeah, I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if they're like, this isn't working out. And it sounds like Nick Sirianni is going to have more of a leash in Philadelphia than Jalen Hurts at this point.
Yeah, I mean, if the leash is short, I mean, Tanner McKee, he's been in the league for 3-4 years now. He's from Stanford, right?
Yeah, and I know some people in the chat, Pat H and Don Peralta, are like, no way. I've just listening like podcasts around the league. People are saying like this could happen where this is a make or break season for Jalen Hurts.
And this organization is not afraid of doing stuff like that. They do it with regularity. They're the organization that wins the Super Bowl and then fires the head coach. They're the organization that wins the Super Bowl and then makes a wholesale change at the quarterback position. Yeah. They tell Carson Wentz basically, we kind of like Nick Foles. We're going to ride with him. Yep. So they could do it. I don't know. It depends how much faith they have in Sean Mannion. If they really think Sean Mannion is the guy to right the ship there on offense for them, and Jalen Hurts seems to be the one that's not making it go, it could happen. But I just think that's going to have to be they're going to have to be a bad offensive team for that to happen. And I still think they have too much talent to be truly putrid on offense.
Yeah, no, I mean, I hear you. There's a ton of talent there. And also on defense, Jonathan Grenard was their big pass rush acquisition. He's dealing with a pec injury right now. And Vic Fangio said, you might see where he's not playing week 1. And I think, I hope he's healthy. Injuries played a factor in his down production a year ago. But we know Howie Roseman likes to swing for the fences. And I keep thinking about Max Crosby with that team, but I don't really know if he has the assets to pull the trigger on that one right now. So I don't know. He works magic before. He's worked magic before when it comes to getting big-time players. I just don't know if he could give up a ton anymore with how many contracts he's got on the horizon. Let's move on to the Commanders. The Washington Commanders, down disappointing season a year ago. They move on from Cliff Kingsbury, which I was surprised about, but it sounds like him and Dan Quinn didn't see eye to eye. They also move on from Joe Witt, their defensive coordinator. They bring in Durante Jones as DC. The Commanders elevate David Blau from Thanksgiving football fame, the Lions, where he had, I want to say, a touchdown pass on his first pass from scrimmage. I think in 2019, I remember doing this highlight for NFL Network. I think it was the Bears and Lions. And since that time, he's been a quarterback coach with the Lions and the Commanders. He was QB coach for them last year. He gets elevated to OC. You might see kind of like a Ben Johnson style of offense with the Commanders. Maybe want to run the ball a little bit more. Their offseason acquisitions consisted of Rashad White, the running back from the Buccaneers. I always fuck up his name, Alon. Chason. Is it Kavalon, the guy that used to be with the Raiders?
Kalavon Chason. Yeah,
Kavalon.
He's their new outside linebacker, pass rusher, edge guy.
Yeah, and they also picked up Odafe Owe, who was with the Chargers a year ago. He was traded from the Baltimore Ravens to the Chargers. They went out and got Nick Cross as well, safety with the Colts. They also got another name I'm not great with, tight end from the Tennessee Titans, Chig Okonkwo, comes on over. I think I nailed that. Yeah. And, of course, a couple weeks ago, they got Stephon Diggs. No Brandon Ayuk, though. Oh, man. And they drafted Sonny Styles, the linebacker everybody loved from Ohio State. My biggest question with the Commanders, what kind of team are they? Can they replicate what they did in 2024 where they surprised everybody in Jaden Daniels' rookie year and went to the NFC Championship game? Or are they like the team we saw last year where, they had a down year? They were bad. Can Jaden Daniels elevate his game coming off injury? And if they have a down year, with the way that Josh Harris kind of wheels and deals, he's got a lot of people in the front office. Bob Myers works with him. I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if this is a make or break season for Dan Quinn. And there's a guy out there that's doing TV this year that has been linked to the Washington Commanders in the past. Would not be the least bit surprised if Dan Quinn is fired after a bad year and they bring in Mike Tomlin.
That That would be fascinating. I mean, he's in the DMV area, and well, no, he's not. He was in Pittsburgh, but he could easily move from Pittsburgh down to wherever the Commanders are going to be playing soon after they get out of that hellhole that's FedEx Field. But no, that thing's awful. But this team's really interesting, Derek. I've because they haven't had a whole bunch of crazy additions. Like we keeping an eye on them a lot more than I normally would, just because of the Ayuk situation, right? And so then they go get Diggs. That's good. That kind of addresses that need, and they get a player who is probably healthy and a known commodity rather than Ayuk, who have no idea whether he can play or not. So I think they dodge a bullet there. They do go get White as a running back. Jaden Daniels has to stay healthy. A lot of teams, if their quarterback goes down, it's kind of end of show for them, kind of the end of the season for them. But for this team, we saw just how bad it could get, because they were 2 years ago, like 12 wins, talk of the entire NFL, like, wow, they're lighting the league on fire. Last year, Jaden Daniels has was it a knee sprain or something like that, right?
Yeah, I forget what the injury was initially, but then he broke his elbow in that that Sunday night game against the Seahawks, and then they just shut him down for the rest of the year.
Yeah, he had the dislocated elbow, and he hurt his knee and like his hamstring or something as well. So he was just it was the operation game with him. It was tough.
Yeah.
And so as soon as he wasn't healthy, they just fell off a cliff, and they only won 5 games last year. So everybody's trying to figure out, like, which team is it? Are they the 12-win team? Are they the 5-win team? Everybody's going to go right in the middle and say like 7 or 8 wins.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have a win total on them yet, but my biggest question is like, can they keep Daniel Jones upright? Because defensively, I do like the team. Like, I think they have a really good interior defense. I think Payne is a great player. Kinlaw's a really good player right next to him. Chason, I think, has proved that he can be a pass rushing specialist. He started for New England last year and showed what he could do. I'm still surprised they didn't keep him. Owe on the other side, I think, can do a good job. And offensively, I think they have enough pieces, especially if Terry McLaurin can keep playing really well. Yeah. It's just a question of does Daniel stay healthy? And not to put too much stock into this, but he's got to get his head in the game. He's got to get rid of this LSU thing that's going on and just fully focus on football. So that's a concern I have with the Commanders, is how invested can Jalen Daniels be with all this different stuff?
I hear you on that. I don't think that's going to impact his game this season. I think it's a ridiculous thing he's doing with LSU right now, but at the same time, I don't think it's going to impact how he plays. Now, injuries could. Yeah. Laramie Tunsil out for either the majority of the season or all of the season with a bicep injury. And this just came across a couple of minutes ago. Their defensive tackle that they drafted a year ago, Johnny Newton, underwent surgery for a torn pectoral muscle, and he's expected to miss significant time. So Commanders already dealing with injuries to start their season. All right, lastly, we got the New York Giants. And obviously the big change there was going from Brian Daboll to Super Bowl winning head coach John Harbaugh. And he gets a lot of big names on his offensive staff. Matt Nagy comes over to be offensive coordinator. Brian Callahan, who was with, obviously, the Bengals and the Tennessee Titans, he comes over to be their QB coach. And Greg Roman as an offensive assistant to probably help with that running game. Denard Wilson hired as their defensive coordinator. I'm sure John Harbaugh is going to have a hand in that as well. And they signed a lot of free agents. He wants to change the way that this roster looks. He got his tight end from the Ravens, Isaiah Likely. Tremaine Edmonds comes over, that middle linebacker from the Bears. Greg Newsome, Patrick Ricard, the fullback. Get some wide receivers in Calvin Austin, Darnell Mooney, and the return of Odell Beckham Jr., who I don't know if he's going to make the football team. Like John Harbaugh said the other day, it's great to have him here and to hear the roar of the crowd at MetLife, but how old is he now? I think he's like my age, like 35. So I don't know if he's going to make the football team.
And you got better knees than him.
I don't know about that. I probably do, actually, just not as much wear and tear.
Yeah.
They trade Dexter Lawrence. He wanted a new contract. It's like same thing with the Buccaneers with me, where it's like, we're trying to rebuild this team. Why are we going to give a lot of money to one of the better defensive tackles in all of football? But let's allocate that money elsewhere. They trade him. They lost their replacement for him. I think it's Roy Robertson Harris, who was with the Jacksonville Jaguars, but he hurt himself during OTAs. He's out for the season. They signed Shelby Harris and DJ Reader. They draft another pass rusher in Arvell Reese. Francis Mauinoa, the left tackle from, I think it's actually right tackle, from Miami. He's drafted as well in the first round, the compensation they get from the Dexter Lawrence trade. They got a surplus of pass rushers now, and Brian Burns, Arvell Reese, Abdul Carter, and Kayvon Thibodeau. You could see where Thibodeau's maybe dealt before the season starts or mid-season at the trade deadline if they have a down year. I guess my biggest question with the Giants is, will Jim Harbaugh's winning ways in Baltimore translate to New York? And when is it going to happen? Is it year one? Is it down the line? But is it where Harbaugh took this job because he sees a lot of talent or because it's a big mainstream team, big media market in the New York Giants, and it's a good franchise? But is it where Harbaugh and his, winning culture in Baltimore is going to translate necessarily to the Giants? I would say it's going to. I don't know about this year. Harbaugh hasn't been the best coach in recent years. Had success in Baltimore, obviously, winning a Super Bowl back in 2012 and going to the AFC Championship game numerous times, whether it was Flacco or a couple years ago with Lamar Jackson, but hasn't been consistent in winning. And last year was a down year. So, yeah, my biggest question is just when and if John Harbaugh's winning ways with Baltimore translates to the Giants.
I think even though this team has improved, especially on paper, and you mentioned the bevy of pass rushers they have, and they got Arvell Reese in the draft, which is a good pick. They're probably not set for the too long future or, for the future in their interior, their defense, right? With Reader and Harris. Those are older players who have been around for a while. So those guys are going to cycle in and out for maybe a couple of years. I would figure that maybe in 2 years, maybe by year 3, if Harbaugh is able to last there and actually show improvement, that we start to see this thing really click. I do like Isaiah Likely a lot. I'm glad that he got brought over because I think he's really talented. He's proven to be a good player. Malik Neighbors, hopefully he can stay healthy because I think that takes some of the pressure off of Jackson Dart as well. Dart, I know the narrative about the medical tent, it's already happened. But the fact that he's got checked for concussion multiple times during his rookie season, that's not good. So he needs to learn how to protect himself a little bit more, not play so out of control. But he was a rookie and it was a really bad team and things were in flux with the coaching staff and everything that was going on around him. I think John Harbaugh is not going to see the immediate success that maybe some in New York might think he might see, but I think they are going to be better, and I think they just have too much talent to be a 4-win team again. I think another year of Dart playing is really good. I think like Neighbors, I think he can stay healthy, hopefully. Likely is definitely helpful for them. And then I really just like their edge rushers. I mean, and then Arvell Reese now in the middle with Edmonds, like that's really nice. That's a nice little package you got there. I just don't know if it's, and they have a good cornerback as well, Paulson Adebo, who plays for them. So like they have pieces. They're not good enough to win that division because that division's really tough. But I think John Harbaugh is going to be able to get things in the right direction there at least. And I think they're going to have better luck health-wise as well.
Yeah, so that's our preview for the NFC East. Excuse me. Next podcast on Sunday, we will do the AFC North. Real quick, Pat H talking about college football in the chat here. Guys, I'm going to my first ever Stanford game against Miami, week 1. Nice. Any advice for my trip to the farm? I don't really have any. I've been only a few times. That seems like a good first game to go to Stanford. You got the defending ACC champions and the team that lost in the national championship going to the farm to take on the Fighting Andrew Lucks.
Yeah, who's what is it? He's the general manager.
He's the general manager
of Cardinal football. Is that what it is? Or is it just?
And we actually talk to him every single week on KMBR, Alon. I enjoy my conversations with my father's favorite son.
Yeah, I know. Your father loves Andrew Luck. And who
Still
does? I mean, greatest quarterback prospect of all time. Has to be, right?
You think so?
Him or John Elway?
In the conversation. Caleb Williams, Trevor Lawrence. But yeah, I think Andrew Luck, I mean, from day one, people thought that he was going to be fantastic. My dad was all about him. Andrew Luck back in the day.
And he was fantastic. And if he didn't retire, he'd probably have a Super Bowl. But Advice as far as going to the farm. I've never actually seen a game in that stadium, Pat, so I don't have much for you. Derek's been there, I think, a few times for work.
The tailgates are amazing. I went, it was a 2009 game. I think it was Andrew Luck's freshman year, and they played Notre Dame when
Toby Gerhardt was on the team.
Yep. And it was a lot of fun. Jim Plunkett was in that part of the tailgates. Just make a day of it. It'll be fun. Stanford versus Miami. I think me and Copes might be doing a show from the farm. I'll give you more details when that's official. But speaking of college football, real quick, Alon, since you and I are going to talk more college ball on this podcast, what'd you make of the AP first rankings, the top 25? They got Ohio State number 1, Oregon 2, Georgia 3, Notre Dame 4, my Texas Longhorns at 5, the defending champions Indiana at 6, Miami 7, Texas A&M 8, Ole Miss ahead of LSU at number 9, Oklahoma 10, LSU 11, Texas Tech at 12, and your Alabama Crimson Tide at 13, right above USC.
Yeah, BYU 14 as well.
Right.
So they're the mighty Cougars. They're up there as well. I think it's a fair ranking. I think Ohio State is the most talented team in the country, and they can almost say that every year. Even when Alabama was dominant, Ohio State was always had an argument to be the most talented team in the nation. Notre Dame, very high ranking. Good for Marcus Freeman. They don't deserve that. Sorry. Number 4, they do not deserve number 4 ranking. Texas, I think, deserves to be in that top 5 for sure. They should probably be where Notre Dame is. Indiana kind of gets screwed here because they did have a magical season last year, but there's no way they're going to repeat it. So they do get respect by being in the top 10, but they haven't had the best recruiting classes either under Signetti, even though they've been so successful. Miami 7, interesting. I don't really no qualms except for Ole Miss being above LSU. I think LSU should be in the top 10 and Ole Miss should not be. Not because I don't like Pete Golding or what Ole Miss has been able to do, but LSU is like spending, like people have a problem with what the Dodgers are doing in Major League Baseball. LSU's doing the same thing in college football right now with Lane Kiffin, with all these transfers they brought in. They brought in the quarterback from Leavitt. So they're bringing ASU. In all, exactly. ASU, your old stomping grounds. And they're bringing in all kinds of guys. And yeah, I don't know. No real issues here. Michigan 16, USC 14. Penn State gets a pity top 20, I guess. Here's 18 for you, Penn State. But yeah, I'm excited for college football. Week 0 right around the corner, Derek.
It is. And we're kicking off in Ireland again?
Yeah, for some, because Ireland loves college football.
I never understand that one. Real quick, these players more than I do at this point. For my Texas Longhorns, and he's going to be, I guess, one of the top prospects at left tackle. What do you make of Trevor Gooseby already dealing with a bone bruise to start the season for the Longhorns? Yeah,
that's not great because he's probably going to be a, highly touted draft pick when he eventually does go to the NFL, and he's a big part of that team. You don't want to lose your left tackle, especially when you got so much riding on your star quarterback, but yeah. I think they'll be fine. Texas has talent on top of talent, and they got Sark, and Sark's always got a plan, Derek.
He does. I just want to hear him stop complaining because it was the SEC media day and him just going, well, we should have been in the college football playoff. Dude, move on. You lost to Ohio State week 1. You lost to Florida. New season, a lot of expectations. Should make the college football playoff this year with Arch. Another season. He looked better down the stretch. But yeah, I saw the Gooseby injury, and I was like, I don't know about that.
Well, it does look so. I'm just kind of reading the latest news on it as well here, but maybe 2 to 3 weeks for him because bone bruise rather than crazy injury, which if it was worse, if they got the news they didn't want to hear, could be an 8-week injury. So it looks like he'll be ready to go. Hopefully, if not for the season opener, definitely within the first month of the season.
Well, there you go. And that's all I got for tonight. Alon, anything else?
Nothing else. We will get to these movie trailers one of these days, guys, because Derek and I have compiled some movie trailers in our production chat. So maybe this weekend, Derek?
Yes, we'll do pop culture catch up along with a little jackass of the week. Yes, there's some movie trailers I want to play that I'm interested in. But yeah, we'll get to that on Sunday, along with maybe a movie review of something I watched this week. Maybe I don't know. I saw The Drama. You know this movie, The Drama, on HBO Max.
No,
It's with Robert Pattinson, who's having a hell of a year with his movies, and Zendaya was like an interesting thing with their relationship. So maybe I'll check that out. I'll give a review on the new season of Tires. Loving Shane Gillis, who show Tires. Awesome.
It's kept up really nice.
I think so. Like, I know some fans. I'll get into it, but I'll say this: season 3 of Tires, I thought was really well done.
Okay.
So we'll do that next time, along with our reviews of the Raiders and 49ers action that goes down tomorrow. Is it a thriller, Derek? It might be. It might be AJ Cruz. I'll figure it out. But we'll react to week 2 of preseason action, and we'll do our Just Your Divisions Man. We'll go do the AFC North. To everybody in the chat, to Pat H., who's a fan of Tires, to AJ Cruz, to Don Peralta, to where else? I think we had a lot of people today. I haven't said Rockadera yet. We had, I want to say the skills report I saw in here a little bit. Yep, skills. What's going on, man? And I believe that is it, unless I'm missing somebody. I don't mean to be rude. It's just sometimes I don't see.
Start.
Oh, Ernie won. What's going on, Ernie? That's everybody in the chat. We will see you guys on Sunday at 11, Alon. You good with that, or you got another soccer game? 11's good?
I think 11's good for me. I got 2 tomorrow, and then Sunday I think I'm good.
All right, well, there you go. We'll see you guys on Sunday at 11. Alon, say what you always say, my friend.
Hey, AJ, you might think that your opinion on what is a horror movie and what is not a horror movie is correct, but that is just your opinion, man.
That's convoluted.